Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to review this presentation. My name is Doug Morton, and I'll be highlighting the various topics today. Throughout the following presentation, we will be focusing on some of the new features provided in the Advanced Steel 2023 release that may be of interest. With this in mind, let's take a look. To begin the presentation, let's take a look at the bolt leader. One of the enhancements made in Advanced Steel 2023 is to the bolt label leader line. Here I've made a model, and I've taken an example from the connection here looking from the inside. If I switch over, you can see that all the information has been called out and the labels are coming into their respective bolts. You can walk through these different bolt sets with the leader line. You can notice that it will point to the nearest bolt within that set. Additionally, the arrowhead now fastens or attaches to the outside of the bolt. So you can see that no matter which one I go to, that's the case. If I don't want the line moving, I can always come into the advanced properties. Where it says leader line, we have the option here for automatic leader line position for labels, and I can uncheck that. You'll see that it comes to the original location and snaps there. Another item to note is that the AISC shapes have been updated and provided as both imperial and metric. In the latest version, the AISC shapes have been updated. If we look, we still have the original AISC 14.1W. These have been marked differently at the beginning. You can see the prefix is changed so that they still support anything made or created with the previous versions, but we have not lost those. The new versions now is the AISC 15. And if we look in here, you'll notice that they've also separated the catalogs and given us both imperial and metric versions for these shapes. Are you tired of copying grid lines vertically to each level that you intend to make a GA drawing at? With this new feature, you won't need to. One of the new features in Advanced Steel 23 is the grid line enhancement. In the past, whenever you place grid lines, if you made a plan view at a different level, you needed to copy the grid lines up to that level in order for them to show or show in your drawing. At the moment, I have these option disabled. If I turn on the top view, which I've created up here at the top of this structure, you can see I don't see any grid lines. Nothing has been created for that. Only at the bottom, you'll see the grid lines when everything is showing. If I create a drawing of this top view, which I'll do now, I'll do select cameras, page full, and ZD. Now open this up, show camera detail. Here you can see I've got my plan view and no grid lines are showing because they are at the bottom or at the base of this structure. They were not placed or copied up into this view. So I'm going to close this for now. I'm going to come back and make a change. With 2023 now, you have an option in the grid lines. When you come into here, you can go to Advanced Properties. There's an area now called Grid Projection. And if you come to this grid projection, you'll be able to check the box. You'll see it says project the grid vertically for model views and drawings. Once I've done that, I can now come to my view again. I'll just turn it on. Here in the model, you'll see the grid has been projected vertically. It shows up now in this view, even when everything else is hidden. I can see my grid lines. No need to copy it up. Just enable the setting. And if I go to the document manager, you'll notice that drawings or any drawings I've created now need to be updated. So I'll do the force update on these. And we'll just select the view like we did last time, right click, and show the camera detail. With that in place now, you can see the grid lines are actually coming out around that detail, and they show up without having to copy up the grid lines from the base of that structure. You can now make, create, and switch to 2D drawings without ever closing the document manager. Let's take a look at how. One of the changes that has been made in Advanced Steel 2023 is the fact that the document manager now has become modeless. And what this means is you can now open up your document manager and it can remain open. You don't have to close it. At this point here, for example, you'll see I have 2 GA drawings. I want to make a drawing of this column. I'll come to my drawing processes. In here, I'll just select the column I want to create a drawing of, and I'll make this select assembly and ZD. Say OK. And you can see the drawing is being created in the background while the document manager is still open. Because of this, and because you can keep it open, they've created now also a new button at the bottom. It says status check all. There's a little yellow triangle with a black exclamation mark that warns you that, hey, something's been changed. You should actually check and update the status of the drawings that are here in the document manager, right? So it shows, but just run the status check to ensure that everything is up to date. So keep an eye on the button at the bottom left if you leave your document manager open to be sure that this is still keeping everything up to date. In addition to this, I can switch over to my 2D drawings. And you can see the document manager is still open. Now, I have limited functionality in here while I'm in the 2D drawing environment, which means, yes, I can still come into here and I can delete or add to batch plot or explode or even open another drawing. I can view some details about it, but I cannot do any updates or revisions while I'm in a 2D drawing here. And if I were to close the document manager while in the 2D drawing, I cannot reopen it from here. I need to go back to the model to reopen it. But I do not need to close it to see my drawings now. So I don't have to open it, then close it to go to my drawing. I can simply keep it open, put it on your screen if need be, come to my drawing, do what I need to do. This is still open. Right? At the same time, if I come back now, if I look at the drawings that I've created, when I come back to the 3D model, now I have the full functionality once again. That allows me to continue doing what I would normally do with my 2D drawings, creating revisions, doing updates, and the whole 9 yards. Again, just keep an eye on this button down here. It will tell you if anything has changed, and every once in a while, if you notice it, just check on the button in order to keep your list up to date. In 2023, the tool palette cameras can now be stretched in one direction at a time. In the previous version of Advanced Steel 2022, whenever you placed a camera in from the tool palette and you needed to resize it, you would come in, select the grips. However, it would resize in both directions at the same time when you selected a grip. There was no way to adjust in just one direction, so you would need to resize and then perhaps shift the camera in order to get it to the correct location. This has been resolved and enhanced in 2023, whereas now when you place the camera in from the tool palette, you can come in and you can stretch in whichever direction you want without affecting any other side. So if you have the left or bottom location in the correct spot, you can simply pull in the opposite direction and stretch it the distance you need. This also works vertically. So if you come into here and you select your vertical, you can see the top will extend vertically and the bottom will also extend from that camera point. This will save time and effort placing in new cameras in order to create views at locations required. For users interested in the Dynamo features that come with Advanced Steel, a couple of items to note. First, the Dynamo core has moved from Python 2 to Python 3. There's been a component change that has also occurred. IronPython has changed to CPython. Add-ins and scripts may need to be upgraded. Dynamo provides a tool for upgrading the Dynamo Python nodes from version 2 to version 3. And the node geometry point get distance was removed since it duplicated the core node point distance 2. Another change in Advanced Steel is the ability to automatically deregister drawings. Another feature that's been added into the latest version of Advanced Steel is the ability to automatically deregister documents when you open the document manager. In here, whenever you open the document manager, it will go through the list of drawings that are available inside that document manager and check to see if they actually exist in the relative directory. If the file does not exist, it will remove them from the list and the list will be updated automatically. The option to disable this is found inside of Management Tools. Come to Defaults, and in here under System General, you'll see they have the option Automatic Document Deregistration during Document Manager Setup. This will go through and look at the DWGs, NCDXF, BOM, and DSTV list to see if they actually exist. And if they do not, it deregisters them from the document manager, takes them out, updates your document manager to show only the valid files that actually exist. You have the option to uncheck this, so that way it does not remove anything from the document manager, regardless of whether the file exists or not. Note that any documents that were deregistered will appear in the command line afterwards, and you can use this command while the document manager is open. The action of deregistering the documents was taken out of the audit command, will no longer work when you type in audit at the command line. Selecting objects for use with the camera tool has been made easier now with the inclusion of queries. Now in 2023, the camera options for selecting objects has changed. Take a look at a camera from the tool palette. You'll see if we come down here for select objects from camera, the layout is somewhat different. You can still select objects for the camera. Simply press the button, come to the model, and select your objects, and you'll see 3 objects selected. You can mark that selection. You can see it'll change, and it will highlight those objects that you've selected. If you need to remove the object, simply come to Select Objects again, press R this time, and then Enter, and you'll see that the tooltip changes next to the cursor and in the command line to say Remove Objects, and you can select the objects you want removed, and you'll see now I have only 2 objects selected. If I come to my model views and I look at the properties of the view here, if the camera properties are enabled, we have the exact same options here underneath the cameras created through the model views. In addition to the Select Object tool being changed, you also have the ability now to use the search query. You'll notice that any search query you've created and may be saved inside of your Project Explorer is going to show up here in this dropdown, and you can utilize these to select the elements that you want to see. Or when the drawing is being created, any elements that does not fall within that camera will not show up on the drawing. However, if these elements do fall within the camera, they will appear. So if you have any columns inside the camera that you've created, those columns that fall within that camera would appear in this particular case. All the ones that fall outside of the camera will not. And that's the new selection tool set for the Advanced Steel 2023. If you work in the DACH market, then you may be interested to know that the drawing styles and drawing processes developed for this region have been updated so that they are more in line with the standards that are typically used. In addition to this, some of the BOM templates have been changed as well. A new system variable exists which can affect your shaded and/or shaded with edges visual style, depending on whether it is enabled or not. The purpose for this is to offer a smoother experience in larger drawings. Typing Fast Shaded Mode into the command line will allow the user to turn the variable on or off. With Advanced Steel 2023, this option is enabled by default and leverages the modern GPU and multi-core CPU processing power. When enabled, you will see the word Fast displayed next to the viewport control. Not all systems are supported, however. If your system does not have the hardware required, the feature may not turn on. There are certain limitations as well. This system does not currently support the following features: point clouds, materials, geolocation maps, large coordinates, customization of visual styles. It is also limited to model space. In paper space, a viewport continues to use the existing graphics system. If you do have the hardware required and are working with larger models, you should see a noticeable improvement in the navigation of your model while in the shaded modes mentioned. In addition to the items that we've seen up to this point, there have been a lot of items addressed in 2023. Features have been added, fixed, and/or modified with the recent version. Here, only one example for each category is shown, but there are many, many more that have not been shown in this list. A full list can be seen on the Autodesk website in the release notes for Advanced Steel 2023. In addition to the items that we've seen up to this point, there have been a lot of items addressed in 2023. Features have been added, fixed, and/or modified with the recent version. Here, only one example for each category is shown, but there are many, many more that have not been shown in this list. A full list can be seen on the Autodesk website in the release notes for Advanced Steel 2023. This brings us to the end of our presentation covering the topics related to what's new in Advanced Steel 2023. Hopefully it's been helpful. Thank you for joining us and have a wonderful day.